Hello, all, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the English with Iz podcast. My name is Isabel, and with me today is my fiance, Tyler.
Hello, all. Unfortunately, we have our dog with us, so if you hear it in the background, please just ignore it.
Yeah, sorry about that. But today we will be discussing the concept of hypermediacy. This is information that could be helpful in some of your college composition or media classes.
Or if you're just a nerd and like learning about random stuff, I'm not alone in that, right?
Of course not. I'm a nerd too, which is why I'm so excited to talk about hypermediacy of all things. So, before I explain hypermediacy, I need to explain mediation.
Like mediating an argument.
Kinda. Mediation is the act of portraying a situation that a viewer is unable to experience themselves.
Can you give me an example?
Of course. Take The Water Lily Pond by Monet. It's one of Monet's most well known works. He painted a series of views of this pond on his property in Giverny, France. So the painting of the pond is mediated for viewers who are unable to visit France to see the landscape in person.
Okay, so I think I understand it a little bit. Can you give me one more example?
Of course. Okay, so think about the Last Supper painting by Da Vinci.
Okay.
We can't actually exist right now like we do, and in 30 AD or whenever the Last Supper took place. And so Da Vinci tries to show viewers what could have happened at the Last Supper, and he also does so using a more realism style of painting as opposed to Monet's post impressionist style.
Okay, I understand that. So I'm assuming you can do that with television.
Exactly. Even fiction is a mediated experience. Take the Avengers movies, for example. We cannot actually experience an alien invasion or robotic uprising, right?
That you know of.
Okay, point taken. But even if those events do happen, it is unlikely it will take place in exactly the way the films portray.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Mediation is just the artist, director, author, their way of putting uh, their world or what they see in front of us and allowing us, the viewer, to view what they want us to view.
Exactly.
Sweet.
So, for a long time, these creators wanted their audience to be as invested in the experience that they were trying to convey as possible. So, the experiences were made to be immersive. This is where things like virtual reality and CGI come into play. So, this concept is known as immediation.
So, what does this have to do with hypermediation?
Eventually, viewers got bored of viewing the same kinds of experiences. They want variety.
Naturally.
So, hypermediated experiences are the exact opposite of immediacy, and it does this by drawing attention to the medium being used for expression.
All right. I think we're going to need another example.
Okay, so let's stick to superhero films. Deadpool this time.
You don't like Deadpool.
Not really, but I don't need to like it to make my point.
Fair enough.
So, one of the interesting points about the Deadpool movies are the fourth wall breaks. Deadpool frequently interrupts the action of the film to speak directly to the audience. This also happens in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, just in case you were wondering if this was an exclusively modern practice.
So, what purpose do these direct addresses serve?
From a storytelling standpoint, having characters speak directly to the audience is an easier way to provide the audience with a lot of necessary information. From the viewing perspective, it draws the audience deeper into the narrative, like me with Community. Abed's persistent commentary about his life being like a TV show makes Community so much more entertaining than if that aspect of his personality were missing.
You do have a very unhealthy obsession with community.
Hush, that's not the point.
I see what you're saying, though. It creates a deeper relationship between the audience and the characters.
Exactly. So, a different approach to hypermediacy can be seen in Birds of Prey. So, not only are there instances of Harley directly addressing the audience, but the film also uses writing and imaging over the action of the film. You see the character's actions, and then there's a freeze frame moment where Harley names the character and describes how she wronged them, or her grievances, as she says in the film. In this moment, the characters are drawn over to be exaggerated to fit Harley's narrative.
I haven't seen Birds of Prey yet, but I know the sequences you're talking about. It kind of reminds me of comic book texts.
Right. This is another example of drawing the audience further into the narrative while giving them necessary information. It draws the viewer deeper into the mindset of Harley Quinn.
Can I ask a question?
No, of course not.
Great. Would The Office count as hypermediated TV show?
Absolutely. The mockumentary style constantly reminds the audience that they're watching television.
Another question.
Shoot.
You're an English major, right? About to graduate with your bachelor's. How does this information apply to you and your own areas of study? You don't want to make movies or write TV shows, so how does this apply to you and to other students?
That's a great question. Hypermediacy does not only apply to film and television, although that is something that would be a lot of fun to analyze more deeply. Hypermediacy is also evident even in the design of computer programs.
How so?
Well, when you open up your computer, there's a desktop, files, you have a trash can, you even have a notepad, all of which are objects commonly found around a physical office space.
Of course.
So when computers were first created, they could have used anything they wanted. They could have created entirely new names for everything. But instead, the creators stuck with the imaging and the names that computer users would likely already be familiar with. When you're scrolling through the files on your computer, you're aware that it's not like the files you would find in an office cabinet.
Right, but since it is used in a new context, the users can understand their purposes.
Correct. The mediation of an office space allows for ease of access. This is also evident when reading digital articles by the use of hyperlinks. Being able to click on a hyperlink to additional information is not something you can do with a physical book. So even if you're reading a PDF or an electronic book, if it uses hyperlinks, this draws attention to the medium being used that is not possible on traditional paper.
I think I understand. So, hypermediacy is the art of removing the viewer from the movie or the book or the art piece or whatever you're looking at. Immediacy is applying the character to the art or the movie. It's allowing them to see what the creators are seeing.
Essentially, yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this first episode of our podcast. And please, if you have any questions, let me know.
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Great.